Konnichiwa, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Kyoto by Night, The Second Breath. This evening we peer again onto the Akiba Zaibatsu Wu. Two members, Pink Fox and Musashi Akira, are going to meet with Ogawa to have a discussion with him with respects to what we have discovered, or what they have discovered so far with respects to this broken mirror. They are able to get a meeting with him at his estate and are being escorted through his house to the courtyard in the back by one of his servants. It's not Masaru. She is not, or sorry, Wasami. She is not here.
What the fuck is he doing? I mean, he was supposed to be our little gopher boy.
Yeah, he's supposed to be your gopher boy.
Typical devil tiger.
So the servant will lead you guys, and you can see that he is walking through his back garden. He's got just got a few of the nice pink-leafed trees that Kyoto is known for, as well as what looks like an actual garden, which Pink Fox has met him out in the courtyard before, so
yes, and
she knows what she's seeing, but Musashi has not.
Yes. Give it in your trousers, man. Yeah, Pink Fox will probably walk through the garden as following the servant with Musashi in tow. She'll kind of be polite and smile and nod towards Ogawa. Reverently, is that the word I'm looking for?
I think so.
Preferably, well, whatever the word I'm looking for. Konnichiwa, Ogawa-san.
Konnichiwa, and how are the two of you doing with your experiments at Wasami's house?
Well, can we walk in the garden? It's kind of extensive and, well,
Yeah, for a certainty.
Yes, the Pink
He'll
Fox will
start walking, hands placed behind his back. Both of you can make a perception alertness rolls just to see. Pink Fox didn't catch this last time.
I think she does now.
Yeah, she definitely.
I will try to see if I can get Dice Stream to work.
Yeah, I had problems with it the other day too.
Okay, can someone roll me 5 dice, please?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll roll you 5 die. 2 successes.
Okay, so yes, both of you will notice that he actually has his third eye is open as he is tending to the garden in his courtyard. And yeah, he will walk with you guys.
Pink Fox, actually, upon noticing that, she'll kind of slow. I mean, she's probably a very fast walker anyway, despite her short legs. And she'll probably try and keep pace with Ogawa, and she'll obviously be looking up towards the third eye.
Akira notices that as well and gets a little bit uneasy, but
So
he's seen weirder shit than this.
Your findings then?
Oh yeah.
Extensive findings?
Well, we kind of texted you the brief details of what we were able to find, but when we put it all together, we've kind of come to a. Well, here's the solution. Here's the story which we think we have. It's full of plot holes, but I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to fill in some of the details. When we looked at Kaoru, I mean, really looked at her, using evaluate, scrutinize and everything. What we saw, we kinda didn't expect, or maybe we should have expected, considering the circumstances. Kaoru is completely and utterly messed up in the head. Messed up to the point where her Hun is dismally low, to the point it's almost non-existent, and that her Po has awakened. It's pretty strong. Stronger than I think most people have ever taken the second breath. We weren't able, her will was too strong for us to really get a good idea of what her personal history was like. But what we do know that she had undergone a terribly traumatic experience, a series of experiences. She uses cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, a lot of other things to try and cope with her extremely fractured mind. We know that we learned that she had committed cannibalism at one point. And this is the most disturbing thing, I think. She seemed more aware than most mortals usually are. I mean, when we basically got her to paint a picture of me, it's not complete, but from what we did see of what she had made, it looked like she was kind of aware of, the auspicious colors associated with my Dharma. And it seemed like she had this really weird way of, setting up the drawing. She wasn't like facing towards me, she was facing more towards the doorway. The doors and the windows were all open. Here's and the painting itself, had green aura, as I mentioned, but she put one blue eye and one red eye, and it kind of looked like the smile was sarcastic. And I don't know if you noticed, she kind of like points up to her own eyes and her smile. Her eyes are naturally, dark brown. The smile is not sarcastic, but full of, rainbows. Not blue, not red, definitely not sarcastic.
Well, artists are hard to predict at times at what they go for, but that does seem to be a level of, well, actually, there's been known, I've heard of artists throughout the years and decades that seem to have a bit of an extra sense on reality. Sometimes you'll find a musician whose songs seem to echo a certain aspect that mortals are usually not aware of. Or you might read a story, whether that means that they've been exposed to it or they just pick up on it. It's hard to tell, because as soon as somebody gets famous, everybody wants to try to lay claim to having relations or interactions with that individual.
Yeah, but usually that doesn't involve, being eaten by them.
No, that is true.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that Jimi Hendrix was into some really crazy shit, but I don't think he ever tried to, commit cannibalism on his fans.
No, that is true. Though I hear that has happened up in the northern parts of Europe. Some rather wickedness occurring. But I don't travel much.
Wait a minute. Is that not kind of like the whole thing with that German guy who, like, he had kind of a gay relationship and he kind of got his boyfriend to eat him?
Yeah, I think that was something like that.
Didn't they make a song about that?
Probably. But yeah. So how does that link? Obviously, something happened.
Here's basically what we all kind of think. We've kind of put our whole ideas together, and we don't have the knowledge of broken mirrors or like Yami realms or anything like that. We don't. Well, we felt that you might be able to fill in the holes, as it were, in the whole story that we think is probably true, given what we already know about Kaharu and Masaru. Starts like this. Kingu Kaharu and Kingu Masaru, brother and sister, obviously, they had a really rough childhood, and their parents, or maybe one of their parents, abused them. So they hid in this room to get away from them. They were very close because, their brother and sister, they only had love for each other, growing up. And somehow, maybe through the trauma of the abuse, or maybe through some other force, the room becomes a broken mirror. I don't know if this happens when they were children, or if it happened during adulthood. But either way, one day, Kaharu, Masaru, and about 4 other people are trapped inside of this broken mirror. They're without light, without sound, without food. The room torments them. The room fights it pokes them. It causes them to become paranoid, causes them to be insecure, brings out their inner demons, as it were. And then, at some point, Kaharu does the unthinkable and kills the one that she loves, her brother, and someone else, and eats them, eats pieces of them. I mean, you've seen Masaru before. You've seen the pieces of him that are pulled off. Had we not looked at Kaharu, we would never have made the assumption that it would have been pieces that she had eaten of him. Then, somehow, she's either released or escapes, along with maybe all these other people. Masaru takes the second breath, wanders around in his feral Chame form. Somehow his Po educates him, gives him some kind of coherence, very limited coherence, but enough to give him direction. He then goes around killing other people who had escaped from this broken mirror and any of Kaharu's artwork. But he also has a spirit link to this broken mirror, which we know is in the downtown area somewhere. So now we're left with a lot of plot holes, a lot of questions. More importantly, we're left without a proper solution to the problem. Because it was Sosen's wish that we do something to elevate Masaru's Hun to be in line with his Po, to bring him balance so he can properly follow the path of the Thousand Whispers. And, whilst killing Kaharu might just do that, or at least remove his soul obsession so he can concentrate, if we do kill her, or she does die, she may not stay dead for long.
Akira nods and then says he's kept quiet for all this time, and then he says the big concern, Ogawa-san, is if she rises and takes a second breath, we might have an even bigger problem on our hands.
Perhaps. Though you should probably speak with Gakusha with regards to Masaru, as I understand that there have been some obstacles in his re-education. If you're able to get her right away, then even with a strong Poe, she actually might be easier to salvage due to the fact that we would be educating her from scratch. He has already acquired opinions and expectations to his new state, which sometimes can prove difficult. So if she ends up well, from what you have said, I would say it's almost a guarantee that should she die, whether murder or quietly in her sleep, she will probably come back. That would actually be interesting. If she ended up living as long a life as somebody who abuses their body like that does, and then she comes back as a little old lady. I have met a few elderly individuals that have taken the second breath, but usually it's those of us who we're young as mortals that do so. There's not very many that are ancient as mortals beforehand. It'd be most interesting to see.
Is there
However,
nothing that we can do to help her?
to help her? Well,
I mean, if what I'm saying is true, and this whole thing started because of other forces, maybe an Akuma.
Well, there is methods with the dragon tier that you can use to purify or cleanse the soul of somebody. I'm not sure if there are mundane ways to be able to do so. Myself, I do not have the skill to be able to purify a soul. That is not my dharmic focus. However, there may be others that can do so. I appreciate your concern over the Kingu siblings, but what is the nature of this broken mirror that potentially is out there and potentially linked to them? Omens do not seem to be helping us locate it. From what I understand, both Yoshi and some others that we have had looking have only been able to find echoes of its passing. Like it's not necessarily an actual location, but perhaps portals that are open up.
I think my concern is probably around its existence as a whole. And I think by reconciling the Kingu siblings, we can not only lock the door on this broken mirror and throw away the key, but also the keyhole.
That would be possible. Again, that's beyond where my focus has been in my learnings, but Gakusha Hiro should be able to at least verify whether that would be possible. Have you... Did you notice any echoes or anything in the spirit world around her?
We did ask our Nishi to keep an eye on things, but we were a little bit preoccupied with her Could always ask
Her observations might not be, because she would be limited in scope to what she herself. She could tell if something's uncomfortable, but that doesn't necessarily give her the insight she needs on what she sees. You said the painting is not finished?
No, the painting's not finished. We've scheduled another appointment with Koharu. So, if there is a solution to this whole situation, then we better start working on it sooner rather than later.
That's a good idea. I would also suggest that you peer as much as you can. From the sounds of things, you have been thorough in reading her souls, but to take a look at the actual tapestry around her would no doubt help in trying to figure out to what extent that she is still linked, or whether it's even following her, or if something is following her. Masaru doesn't seem to have anything like that, other than the fact that he does have a connection. He has a bond of some kind to this, to something.
Pity there's no way to follow that bond.
Somebody experienced with chi flow and traversing might be able to, but it's a very faint tether. You would need to have good circumstances to be able to do it. I'm sure there's, I guess potentially, if this is a periodic event, this broken mirror, and not stable, when it flares up, the tether would become stronger. That would make it easier to try to follow. But unless we can predict when that happens, I don't know.
So Kusha would probably be the one to ask about that.
Yes. I know of someone that actually might be able to help you with a little bit more knowledge, but they are not in Kyoto. But it wouldn't be a difficult trip for you to get to them. I could make arrangements. It would actually be very educational for you to make this trip.
Who are they?
Where are they? They are in Fukushima.
Fukushima.
And at that word, like when he says Fukushima, Akira's eyes widen a little bit, but he remains quiet though pensive. This is no coincidence, he thinks.
There is House Genji fairly recently managed to take control of the city. It's not still without peril, as the dragon lines are very badly corrupted, but that means that those that are still in the city are a lot more experienced dealing with broken mirrors, corrupt sources of chi, and I think if you got the ability to experience such things firsthand would be much better than what you would just read in a scroll. He looks at the two of you. The three of us, at least, are more action-minded than book-minded.
Mm. That's true, but it kind of would help if we knew what we were doing. Well, see what you can do, and we'll do what we can for our part with the rest of the Court of the Four Winds.
He pulls out his cell phone and he starts tapping away at it. He's like, probably just spend. He'd still have most of a night left traveling to Fukushima. Then stayed at a hotel during the day, spent some more time, and then come back the following night. I could get Naoki to meet with you, take you for an educational tour of the city, and make sure that you guys spend the day in a safe location. The city is still not totally free of peril, but it's at least we have a lot of allies.
At the moment, any and all options are welcome.
Very well. I will do that. And would you would be fine handling a trip, an overday trip?
Well, we've kind of got a few things that we are responsible for at the moment. We may have to... Well, I'm not quite sure that we'll be able to go to Fukushima, at least not, before we've finished this whole thing with Kaharu. At least we know where she lives now. But if we can get any proper answer from someone... Wait a second. The whole thing with Masaru is because of his supposed obsession with killing Kaharu, right?
I would presume so. That seems to be a fairly obvious issue with him.
What about his Han? If his Han still loves his sister in some way, and if his sister... we weren't able to look too deeply into her, but maybe the optimist in me wants to believe that there is still some way that they can reconcile, even if it does mean we have to start poking them in the right means. But if they do, maybe that will do this whole thing that I mentioned about the getting rid of the key and the keyhole. But how can we get them both in the same room without, the Poe coming and taking over and causing us a great deal of headaches?
Well,
I suppose we could. I suppose we could tie them to two trees on the opposite side of the courtyard and have them shout at each other through megaphones. But it's kind of, And there's also the great principle and mandate of hell and all that.
Yeah. And plus, I think setting yourself up to be a common enemy, while I applaud the concept, probably isn't the kind of unification you want of them.
Yeah, and I think kind of Sosin would kind of not really be too pleased at the idea. Because, having two people who really hate each other at opposite sides with megaphones shouting at each other, it's going to really upset the... I mean, it'd be funny,
Would be.
It kind of would upset the Court of the Four Winds. And
well, Kisaragi would be due to be back soon from her trip, so we'll... I guess it depends how much noise is made in her absence, but... Yeah, I think there's probably better ways to try to broker a proper arrangement between them. Well, that seems like a very auspicious way to try to deal with this for the two of you. Very much a Eastern Yang way to look at things.
We can only do what we do.
Yes, well, let me know how that is, and I will. He reaches into his pocket and hands a credit card over.
And Pink Fox will take the credit card.
Okay.
Look at it.
It's it doesn't have a name on it. It does have numbers, but as you kind of tilt the card, the numbers kind of seem to change slightly. For your trip to visit Naoki, use this for any traveling expenses. And then when you return it to me, you can tell me on how educational your trip was.
Okay.
And Pink Fox will, pocket the thing, which I can assume is quite as an artifact, but that's neither here nor there. And
Thank you. Well, we better get going. In fact, I think I'll call Gakusha-san before, so not delayed too much. Thanks for talking to us, and just hope we can resolve the situation sooner.
Yes, or at least before it develops into a bigger problem, or another problem comes and distracts you from dealing with it, because that wouldn't be good either.
No.
And so, Pink Fox, presuming Akira will make themselves scarce, as it were.
Yeah.
And Pink Fox will probably start to she'll send a message to Gakusha asking if he's able to speak with the two of them. It's important. It's a matter of a broken mirror, which they've already spoken to Ogawa about. And emphasis: time is of the essence, he says.
Okay.
We're trying to be polite, but we're also trying to not be we're being pushy, but not without being we're being polite, but without being pushy. Is what I'm
We're
trying
being
to say.
Japanese,
Yes,
basically.
Being Japanese.
Yeah, that's sure.
No problem. You'll get a texted response back that Mistress Kusha says that she is available for visitors.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can head off for that.
Yep, we will.
While we're driving, I assume we're driving, by the way. Akira will look at Fox and say, "Have you heard anything more about the club?"
No, not yet. But well, we should definitely look into that before the night's done. But, we got to prioritize things because we know we might not even have a home to. Well, we might not even have a Kyoto to live in anymore if this whole thing with the broken mirror kicks off.
He nods. It just popped into my head. He said.
Well, I've not been having any. Well, nothing's happened at work, so but we'll keep it there.
So yeah, off to Gakusha's place.
Okay. And yeah, at Gakusha's tea house, he is sitting, meditating, or just sitting at the back as he normally is, with various people moving in and out.
And Pink Fox, will naturally, she'll naturally like, excuse me, she'll naturally, be polite and, ask one of the aides if they could tell Gakusha that they're there and that they'd like to speak with him if at all possible.
Oh yes, I believe that she is waiting for you.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll go over to the table.
Konbanwa, Gakusha-san. Apologies for being slightly late. The traffic was terrible. We have a matter which Agawa-san told us we should speak to you about. We'll give you the shortened version of the events leading up to this.
And to save us a bit of time, because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we don't want to go through the whole thing, she'll basically give Pink Fox will give the pretty much the same story of what happened with
Yeah.
Koharu and her own, what the connection between the Kingu siblings is and this broken mirror, and obviously place emphasis on the idea that there may be something else behind this which set the whole thing off. And, obviously pointing out that this is just a theory because she's not quite as knowledgeable about things related to the Yomi realms and whatnot as, she hopes Kakusha will be able to provide an answer to that, or solution.
Thoughts, Akira?
Akira will hesitate for a while and say, honestly, Gakusha-san, I am also unsure. I freely admit that this particular area of our existence is not one with which I have extensive experience, and therefore my opinions on the matter are not very much of substance. I only know what I saw when I read her as Pink told you. I am unsure as to how to proceed.
The one thing that I believe may be a solution to this. Obviously Masaru has the spirit link to this broken mirror. And although we weren't able to see past the veil, as it were, that Koharu put up through her strength of will, I think it's a safe assumption that she has one as well. But here's the problem. As I've explained before, if Koharu dies by accident, by design, or simply living her expected life, she will rise as one of us. Her Po is simply too strong for it to not happen. Masaru, for his part, his Po is obsessed with killing Koharu. And Sosen, having asked us to strengthen his Hun, we can't find any real feasible solution to satisfy both parties. Unless, somehow, we can convince Masaru to forgive his sister. and for his sister to accept that forgiveness. But the problem lies in getting them both in the same room to speak to one another without, the Po taking over.
Childbirth is always easier than the apprehension that precedes it. You have ideas.
Mm-hmm. I know. But this is more than just a desire for simple experiences. I know that my path will force me to choose decisions to influence people, to influence mortals in ways that may be beneficial or detrimental to them. But if my solution is wrong, it threatens the entire Court of the Four Winds. And not knowing or having any experience with broken mirrors or the Yami realms outside of what we experienced prior to the second breath, it leaves me with few avenues for a solution that will ensure our continued survival. It's my personal belief that if Masaru and Koharu were to reconcile, not only would that throw away the key, it would lock the door and throw away the key on this broken mirror, but as I said to Ogawa-san earlier today, it would also throw away the keyhole. The other thing that Ogawa mentioned is this broken mirror seems to be not one set place, but a roaming mirror, a roaming room. He thinks that there may be a way to find out where it is when the portal to this broken mirror opens. The tether, which the spirit link that Masaru, one would presume Koharu has, would become more visible.
A beekeeper knows where to gather honey. Maggots is in old meat, flesh. If there's something you are looking for or looking to avoid, start where it can be found.
That's an Enigma's role.
That's perception or no intelligence enigmas.
Intelligence, yeah. She's not
I
trying to
don't
get
have
too vague.
don't have any enigmas, but I have intelligence.
I'll let you use intelligence at difficulty 8, Akira.
That's smart.
Let me guess. Is it minus one dice then?
No,
Or?
just roll intelligence at difficulty 8.
Yay, one success.
Okay. researching, basically if you research or know what regular broken mirrors are like, that will help you try to figure out where this portal or this roaming one might turn up, to be able to predict where it is going to. So either finding out where it has been or where broken mirrors can normally be found, that would be good starting points.
Akira looks over at Pink and says, junkyard?
Maybe places where, bad things have happened.
Junkyards.
Yeah, junkyards.
He says again, and then he ponders for a moment.
Maybe places where, Z-list ninja movies have been filmed, maybe.
The problem is, though, that bad things have happened all over the place.
Alright then, let's narrow it down. Really bad things, horrible things, stupendously unnice things.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Too far away.
Exactly. Fukushima?
Also too far away. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just go. Sorry. Pardon my manners, Gakusha-san. Is there any like scrolls or books or anything like that we can borrow about, broken mirrors, where to find them?
The court has texts at the temple that would help.
Can you find one? Please? Pretty please?
It is available for those that seek learning.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Gakusha-san. Okay. Okay, so we get those. Wait a second. Didn't Yoshi say that he encountered this broken mirror once?
I cannot remember, Akira says.
Yeah, he did. He said he encountered it in downtown Kyoto.
Yes.
Is any other Gaki in the city encountered it?
Yoshi would know.
Okay, we'll go speak to Yoshi then. After we get the book, of course. Okay.
Pink Fox will stand up and give a light bow to Gakusha.
Thank you for speaking with us.
Akira stands up and bow as well and bows.
Unless Gakusha stops them.
Nope. He'll let you guys.
Okay. Next stop. Court of the Four Winds. Hopefully the associates and retainers won't be dicks.
Indeed.
Just make a charisma etiquette roll difficulty 7 for me, and we'll just see how much.
Oh no. In fact,
difficulty 8, you said.
7.
Oh, 7. Then I get 2 successes.
Yeah.
All right. So, it looks like they are going to be a bit of dicks, and Pink Fox is probably getting a little frustrated, but Akira is able to cut in and, excuse me, do you mind if I speak for you? And so you guys don't have any overly complications in being able to get access to what you guys are looking for.
Yeah.
They were such dicks.
Yeah.
And I specifically said I didn't want them to be.
That's how it usually goes. He grins.
That's what
Anyway,
life is like.
yeah, life's a bitch, and then you die.
And then you take a second breath and they'd be more dicks.
True.
Yeah. So, are you guys? You wanted to take the scrolls with you, or are you gonna try to read them here?
We're basically just trying to, well, assuming
How
that
about
there's like,
can take pictures of them? Like, we both have camera phones, I guess.
unless
I
they
suppose
have
you
like
could
some,
scan through.
Yeah.
Yeah. The scrolls are they're not like leather-bound books. They would be actual scrolls. So, but yeah, this evening you guys would have enough time. You'd be able to go through, find out where you're supposed to look and get what you're supposed to look for. And yeah, quick little camera phone picture, click, click, and you will be able to read at your leisure later on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And once they've done that, exited out the light of the Court of the Four Winds Library.
Yeah.
Flipping the middle finger to those guards who've been such dicks to them. Set the stealth, the stealth middle finger. Like.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll. Well, as Mark mentioned earlier on, they'll probably go to the Bottom Up nightclub to see how the whole thing with the club is going.
All right. And because I don't have any other than just the one I did for that scene we did the other day, so your manager and your club owner will be conveniently there for story purposes. Just because it has been a while since, so there should be some sort of knowledge that you are gained. Ohio.
Ohio gozaimashita.
Konnichiwa.
How are you doing this evening, Fox?
Not too bad. I've been going around, town with Akira. Just visiting friends that we haven't seen for a while. Mostly just things. But anyway, how are you? How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, actually. Do you still have interest or funds for us to begin negotiations for purchase?
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
Akira nods.
The others actually backed out. They didn't like the terms. I think they were hinted that they didn't appreciate me trying to use basically they very politely said I was more or less making up your purchase offer as an attempt to extort more money from them. So they chose to back away. They did so very politely to save face and everything, but that was basically the gist of what I got out of the reasons behind their cancellation of their offer.
So basically they were dicks and they didn't want to spend as much money on it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I definitely had control of the negotiations because I didn't have it for sale. They were just trying to throw money at me. So I guess they figured, that it wasn't worth extra money. So, but if you are still interested and you had raised some very good points, very valid points about if I was going to retire, that having my business go to the right hands is a good choice. So I would like to continue with negotiations with you then.
Akira smiles and says, "That is very very good news. Insert appropriate honorific here. um, we are very interested still."
Excellent. Well then, let's make arrangements when we can have a discussion with lawyers present, and we'll definitely be able to see some progress.
Okay.
Akira smiles and nods politely and says, "We shall look forward to that day." And starts making little notes on his phone, just checking dates and stuff like that. Yeah.
What have you done, Jacob?
Oh. Oh, okay.
All right. So yeah, and you guys are at the club. Good times. Good times.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you would like to follow up on this evening?
Akira. Akira heads to the dance floor just because lol. And he doesn't do all that well.
Well, you're not supposed to look good. You're just supposed to have fun, right?
Yeah. Right.
All right. Excellent. Well, at that then, so we've got more information which can help with educated guesses. We've got some tips and a potential field trip if you guys take Ogawa up on his offer. And so I think we can. Oh, and it looks like you guys are going to become owners of a business. So you'll have a good cover to throw stuff in, launder money or whatever it is that you guys do. So with that,
What a thing to insinuate.
we will end scene. So thank you two for playing, and thank you everyone for watching. Sayonara.
Sayonara.